After 7 weeks in the NFL, where do the Seattle Seahawks rank in overall PFF categories and overall grades in each single category? Now, the Seahawks have played one less game than a lot of teams due to their early bye week, but I thought it'd be nice to break down after every single week. So after week 7 right now, where do the Seahawks rank or where are they graded in every single category to kind of get a grasp of where is this team going? What are they doing at every position, and how should we evaluate them at those spots? So let's break down the Seahawks grades overall for the season against all other teams after week 7 of the NFL season. I'll be doing this weekly. After week 8 is over, let's break down where the Seahawks are sitting. So make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see this every week. Let's start with the overall grade. The Seahawks currently sit at 7th in the NFL in PFF grading at an 83.4 grade. Now, the only teams ahead of the Seahawks are teams that you would expect to be there. The Miami Dolphins, the San Francisco 49ers, the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the Detroit Lions, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Next up is the Seattle Seahawks. And they're only a few grades away from the Buffalo Bills in 4th. And then they're a little further away from the rest of the teams. But it shows, despite the Seahawks offense being regularly talked about right now as a disappointment, and Geno Smith being talked about as a disappointment, and DK Metcalf, everybody wants him off the team because, well, if you're on Seahawks Twitter, maybe not on YouTube, but everyone on Twitter is like, oh, too much of a distraction. Yeah, he has a couple of bad unsportsmanlike conducts. Trust me, I understand. But overall grade, the Seahawks sit at 7th in the NFL. Overall. And that's because of the offense and the defense. Everybody's doing their job. And we'll see why that's the grade after we break down each thing offensively and defensively. But let's start with the offense. The offensive grade for the Seahawks is a 76.1. They are currently sitting at 8th in the NFL. Now, like I said, the Seahawks offense is great. The only team I didn't mention before that's ahead of them in the overall grade, that's ahead of them now in the offensive grade, is the Rams, and the Vikings are a little higher than them, but they're actually above the Ravens for the offensive grade. So that's why they are at 8th. And like I said, everyone talks about how bad this offense has been. Maybe there's some outliers. There's some outliers, I think, on the good end and the bad end, and that's why they're probably sitting at 8th overall in the NFL. And then you go to the passing. In passing grades, they're actually 9th in the NFL. They are 9th at 78.3. Now, they're far way away from the 90 grade that the number one team, the Miami Dolphins, have. But the Seahawks are still rated in the top 10 passing grades for PFF grading. And I think that just shows that, like I mentioned before, there are outliers on each side. The Seahawks have had some really good and really bad games offensively. But overall on the year, this offense is doing what it does best. And it's staying decently consistent. And I know you'll say that, it's not been the most consistent as much as last year. Agreed. But it's been consistent enough. I feel like there's been a lot of times where outside of the red zone, this offense has been pretty great. The red zone is really where it feels like it's killing us. If you look at that Bengals game, we probably win the Bengals game if we can convert something in the red zone. The Cardinals game, it would have been a blowout. I know we won by a decent margin, but I'm talking about it would have been a 30-point blowout if we could have converted when we got within the 20. So everything outside the red zone, the Seahawks offense has stayed pretty consistent. They're getting down the field a lot. They're getting to the red zone a lot. They're unfortunately just not converting, which you need to do if you want to, really compete in the NFL. But overall, that grade is not bad, and they are sitting at 9th in passing grades. Now, this is why the offense, really, if you want to talk about inconsistency, we're getting to why the offense is inconsistent. And the Seahawks sit at 22nd. Not very good, at a 58.4 grade, which you can see is in the yellow compared to the other ones that have mostly been in the green. 22nd in the NFL in pass blocking grade is not very good out of 32 teams, obviously. We're on the bad half. And the biggest concern here is the Seahawks play the number one pass rush grade in the NFL, which is the Cleveland Browns this week. So if that offensive line cannot figure out how to protect Geno, then there's only one option. It's Shane Waldron, our offensive coordinator, who hasn't done this in other games, I feel like. He hasn't tried to figure out how to make a fast-paced offense. Like, stop dropping back Geno 4 steps. Let's get some, like, quick snap, quick slants, get the ball out of Geno's hands quickly so he doesn't get hit so much. I feel like we have not adjusted very well to the situation recently with the bad pass blocking. But that's not good where we're at. Playing the number 1 pass rush, and we're 22nd in pass blocking. The Seahawks need to figure that out. That causes a lot of Geno Smith's inconsistencies. Geno Smith would be a much better quarterback this year if he was being protected and had time, because his receivers are actually very good. Obviously, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Will Dissly, Cody Parkinson, Noah Fant, and the tight ends, those three. Jake Bobo, sorry, I forgot to mention. More Bobo, I forgot to mention him. This team is stacked when it comes to the receiving and tight end core. And a lot of people hate on Geno Smith, who's still graded as a top 10 to 12 quarterback in almost every category, but he's just not getting time. Him getting hit all the time is not just on him. Yes, he holds the ball a little longer than I'd like. It gives me some, some Russell Wilson-esque vibes of when Russell Wilson was trying too hard to make something out of the play, and you're like, just get rid of the ball. Geno's been doing that a little bit. But it's not all his fault. The offensive line is not blocking for him. So that is obviously a big concern for the Seahawks. Now, I think this is our second best category out of every category that the Seahawks have in the entire offense, defense, special teams. This is the second best category, I believe. The Seahawks in receiving, and this is a perfect transition because I'm just telling you about all our receivers and all our tight ends and how we have good weapons, but we have good running backs out of the backfield, but we need some protection. The receiving grade for the Seahawks right now in the entire NFL sits at 3rd, only behind the San Francisco 49ers and the Miami Dolphins, 2 of the best offenses in the entire league. The Seahawks receiving grade is a 77.1. It sits at 3rd, technically tied at 3rd also with the Buffalo Bills. They are almost 10 grade points behind the San Francisco 49ers and 8 behind the Dolphins, but we are sitting at 3rd. I already went on a spiel about how good this receiving core, tight ends, the running backs are, so I'm not going to dive any deeper into it. But overall, in correlation with the pass blocking grades and all those different things, block better, Geno will be better, the receivers will be better, everything will be better. So we need that offensive line to step up this week against the number 1 pass rushing team in the entire NFL. Let's get to the run game. The Seahawks currently have a 77.8 grade, sitting at 11th in the run game, which is not so bad considering the fact that this offensive line wasn't that great this year, but they've been better in the run block, and they're sitting at 11th at a 65.8 grade in the run block. So the reason the Seahawks at 11 in run block, that's why they're sitting at 11 in the run game, because they are actually getting some protection. I just I didn't know it correlates so exactly. 11th in the run game, and they're also 11th in the run blocking scores, but it correlates perfectly. It tells you why the running game's been better. Now with the 11th run blocking grade, I feel like we could even, if our running backs were playing a little bit better, we could even excel a little higher than that. But that shows how good the offense has been in terms of receiving and passing. With a 22nd graded pass block, the offense still has found a way to be in the top 10 and be top 3 in receiving. So give more credit to the offense and Geno Smith, because they're doing all right, okay? They're actually doing all right considering how bad the blocking is. The run game's okay. The Seahawks are sitting everywhere in every single category, either 11th or higher, except for pass blocking. But before we get to the defense, let's just break that down one last time. The Seahawks are 7th overall in the entire NFL, which we'll get to when we talk about defense as well. Their offensive grade is 8th in the NFL. Their passing grade is 9th. Their pass blocking is 22nd, unfortunately. Receiving grade is number 3. The run grade is number 11. And the run blocking grade is also 11th. Let's get to the defense. Defensively, the Seahawks are at 7th as well. They are sitting at 7th at a 75.7 grade. If I told you going into this year, actually, if I told you last year that give it one more year and they're going to be a top 10 defense in the NFL, you'd think I'm crazy. But they found a way to bring back Bobby Wagner, who is making another stint of his career look amazing again, which he wasn't even, he was good last year too. I'm not saying he was bad with the Rams. I'm just saying the guy's never aged. He just stays good. He has another Seahawks stint now where he's good. And then on top of that, you brought back Jaron Reed, who has revitalized his situation on the defensive line. Devin Witherspoon has been the best rookie in the NFL pretty much. I mean, outside of maybe you could say CJ Stroud because he's a quarterback, Devin Witherspoon's probably the most hyped rookie right now. Definitely the best defensive rookie in the NFL. Better than Jalen Carter, who we're freaking out about. Better than Will Anderson, all these guys. Devin Witherspoon's been amazing. On top of that, we brought Jamal Adams back. You have Diggs. You have Julian Love. There's a lot of pieces to this defense that's just been a lot, and I mean a lot better, including bringing back Frank Clark now after the Uchenna Nwosu injury, which is unfortunate because he's actually been great. But Boye Mafe's also been great as a second year guy. So overall, it's a shocker that we're as good as we are defensively because of what we were last year. But at the same time, when you look at all the pieces brought back, the pieces that have developed, like Tariq Woolen, Boye Mafe, all these guys, second year dudes, on top of the guys we brought in, it kind of makes sense. But the Seahawks defense is killing it, and they are 7th in overall in the entire NFL defensive grade. And if we break that down just to the NFC, because there's 3 teams in there that are AFC teams. In the NFC, it's the 49ers at 1, Cowboys at 2, Saints at 5, and Seahawks at 7. So we're 4th in the NFC in defense grades as well. Let's get to the run defense. And the run defense, we are also at 7th. We are at 7th with a 71.8 grade. They're playing well. Run defense has been good. As we know, the defense overall has been good. 71.8 is a phenomenal score to have for this team who is not the best up front over the last couple years. And let's talk about the pass rush. Our pass rush has been really bad the last few years, and it's at 8th this year at 76.3. So if you want to talk about what's made the Seahawks defense so much better this year, you can look at the rush defense on the line. Some of the linebackers, everybody's involved in this, but you know what I mean. They are 7th, and in pass rush, they're 8th. Those are 2 things that have been a huge struggle for the Seahawks in the recent past, last 4 or 5 years, and it's been a lot better. Now, our tackling grades are not very good. Our tackling grade, I believe, is what is it? It's pretty low. Our tackling grade is sitting at 18th in the NFL, which is not very good, obviously. But, it's not the best score either. It's at a 57.8. But when you have a good rush defense, good pass rush, the tackling grade, if you were just a little bit better than 18th in tackling, move up to like 14, 13, we might be talking about a top 6 defense instead of a top 7 or 8. Now, last but not least is coverage, where they are sitting at 11th. In coverage, they are sitting at 11th at a 75.9 grade. So overall, when we look at this, they are 11th in coverage. They are 7th in rush defense. They are 8th in pass rush. And like I said, 11th in coverage. It's just the tackling at 18. If that tackling got moved up, that tackling grade went from a 50, the tackling grade's a 57.8. If that went up just a little bit, we'd probably be closer to the 6th or 7th spot in the NFL in defensive grades with the Saints and Dolphins there. But we're not. Now, the reason we are doing great overall in the overall grades is because we have an extremely balanced team. A 75.7, like I said, sits at 7th in the NFL. For defense, on offense, we sit at 8th at a 76.1. And overall, we sit at 7th at the 83.4. And one thing that's kind of helped to boost our grade a little bit. PFF is smarter than us. It doesn't boost it too much. But our best grade in the entire categories that I mentioned today is the special teams. We are at a 90.3 special teams grade, which is exceptional. It passes the green level on PFF and turns into blue, which means it's like unreal. There's only one team ahead of us is the New Orleans Saints. They have a 90.8. We're at a 90.3. But we are sitting at second in the entire NFL in special teams. And there's one guy I mentioned that came back to the Seahawks this year that doesn't get talked about enough, which is Jaron Reed. It could be inflated because he's had a play or two that have been good on special teams. But he is sitting at third or fourth in the entire NFL for special teams grades for players. The Seahawks special teams is important. It's important to have a team that can, make sure you're getting those extra points you need, making sure you're getting the right punts going, making sure you're stopping teams, getting tipped field goals, making people miss, all these different things. So overall, the special teams being in the top is pretty great for us. Now, really quickly, before we go, and I'll do this every single week, is we're just going to talk about where each game has ranked so far. Our grades so far, overall, 7 weeks into for us, 6 games, I think, right? But 7 weeks in. I'll do this again next week. As of right now, our worst grade has been against the Los Angeles Rams, of course. We had a 59.8, which is in the yellow. Our second worst grade was in a win against the Detroit Lions at a 70 in the green. Third to last is, which is, I guess, our fourth overall grade, is a 72.9 against the Arizona Cardinals in a win. Our third overall grade is in a loss to the Bengals, which that game was not as bad as we thought it was, as I've tried to tell people, 73.3. And then our top 2 grades are against 2 really bad teams, of course. The Carolina Panthers, we got a 79.1. And then our number 1 grade on the year, you guessed it, the day where our defense had a 90 score, our run offense had an 84 score. We had an 87.2 against the New York Giants in week 4 and a 24-3 win on Monday Night Football in New York. Overall, those are how the games have gone. Giants, Panthers, Bengals, Cardinals, Lions, and then the Rams at the end. And I do not think we'll get a grade as low as the Rams the rest of the year. And I hope we do not, or we have a problem, my friends. We have a problem. Please let me know if you enjoyed this. Next week, even if you didn't, I'm going to do it. I love doing PFF grading stuff. So after week 8's over in our 7th game, I'll be doing on Tuesday or Wednesday, a week 8, whatever it is. It's hard when you have a bye week. Week 8, where do the Seahawks stand in PFF grading? Every single category. Some people aren't subscribed to all this stuff on PFF, so you're seeing the charts here free of charge. Don't tell them. And let me know what you think. I love y'all. And go Hawks. Peace.